South Africa, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're in Sheviis base Vav.
Base Vav.
I believe so.
One may not plant or graft, I think, or graft, he must uproot it. Rabbi Yehuda says weeks. Reb Shimon Zechuri says the Egyptian being sown from the outset from the outset for seed. Likewise, Reb Shimon says large size beans. Likewise, Reb Eliezer says large size beans if they begin to form pods before Rosh Hashanah. And seedless onions and Egyptian beans from which water had been withheld for 30 days before Rosh Hashanah are tithed according to the past year and are permitted in the seventh year. But if not, they're forbidden in the seventh year and are tithed in accordance with the next year. Also, those in a rain-watered field from which water had been withheld for 2 spells. So says Reb Meir.
Hold
But
on. Wait a second. Wait a second. I think you overshot there. Did you? You did up until Ches, right? So Ches is on me.
I did. I was doing
Um,
yours.
so the previous one was just do Ches again for me, please.
Okay. Reb Shimon Suri says the Egyptian being sown from the outset for seed, likewise. Reb Shimon says large-sized beans, likewise, and Reb Eliezer says, no, Elazar says large-sized beans if they begin to form.
Okay.
All
So that's where we are, where we're judging produce according to where they've it's sort of in between trees and vegetables. Trees are judged according to the chata, vegetables according to when they're picked, and some of these vegetables are judged for the for the truma status, for at least for the master status, or for their smita status, according to when they strike out root or when they form pods, according to, in this one case over here. Okay, so Mishnah Tes, Habatzalim Asarisim, so seedless onions, these are. Upol Hamitri and Egyptian beans. Shemana mehem shloshim yom lifnei Rosh Hashanah. If he these are from irrigated fields, and if you stopped irrigating them, then basically he's not expecting them to grow anymore. Now he wants them to just for basically the plant should die and the bulb should remain. That's the onion, or the Egyptian bean. Also, it will just leave the produce, and the rest of the plant can wither at this point. Which means, so if he withholds enough water, if he withholds the water for 30 days from until Rosh Hashanah, then basically it's ki'ilu he's picked them, even though he hasn't picked them. It's ki'ilu he's picked them because it's because now the plant is basically going to wither. It's not going to grow anymore, and they're ready for harvest. Okay, so Mr. Astor in the Shevar, Umutar and Sheviis. So these are now considered as a sixth year produce. V'im lav, however, if you were still watering them through Chodesh Elul, Asur and Sheviis, then they have, well, it's not that they're Asur, it's just that they have the Kedusha Sheviis, and all of the Isurim of dealing with Sheviis produce are come into play. Umis Asur in the Shana Haba, and in other years, then they go according to the year after Rosh Hashanah. Michelle Baal. Now, what happens if it's a rain-watered field? Shemana mehem shtei onos. So the ona is a season, is sort of a seasonal rain. I think this is not something where the person himself uh, doesn't water them, because it, as far as I understand, we're talking about here is a rain-watered field, which means that basically I can't understand it any other way than that we're talking about a drought, but it doesn't say this explicitly, because it's talking about shtei onos. If there are two seasons, we're talking about, although it doesn't talk about a revia. Revia is normally when we're talking about rainy things over here, but it seems an ona is a season. Is a season of the irrigation. So it's difficult for me to see that this is a human choice, because if it's a rainwater field as opposed to an irrigated field, unless he's like adding to the unless the people add to the normal rain watering.
Is an ona specific to a rain-watered field or just to seasons, like summer, winter, spring?
So no, well, I mean, it's not summer, winter. It's a period of time during the year. an ona, but these things don't normally grow, for the whole year. So if they've had water withheld in them from 2 onos, that's then they're judged according to the previous year. Says Rabbi Meir, Chachamim omrim shalosh. It needs 3. It needs 3 onos. If he withheld from them water, but the way it's written, it looks like it's a human choice that he withheld water from them. Then you don't go according to the picking, and that's the halacha, is the 3 onos. What he doesn't go into over here a lot is what exactly is an ona. You know what? I'm actually going to look this up on Safaria quickly and see if I can find an explanation here of exactly what this ona is. If you'll just give me a second on there. Sheviis in base. Good. So let's see what Bartanura says about this. So this is a field that you don't need to irrigate. It's rainwatered, right? Nonetheless, okay. So Bartanura helps us out here. So he says that nonetheless the vegetables that grow there do need watering. Therefore, he withheld water from them for 2 periods. Zman hashkasa shirigilin hashkosa kari ona. So now he defines for us what's an ona. It's the time that he normally waters them. So he doesn't have to water them every day, but he has a schedule of additional watering that he has to put into his field. And if he holds himself back for 3 of those periods, then the vegetables are already considered as if they've been picked. And if that's before Rosh Hashanah, then judged according to the previous year, even if you pick them after Rosh Hashanah. Okay, are you with us there?
I'm with you. Okay.
Okay, great. Mishna Yud, Hadeluin Shekiyaman Lezera. So here you have some goods that he is keeping for seed. He's not interested in the produce over here. He just wants to basically he wants to just leave it out in the field to dry out and preserve the seeds inside. So now, im hukshu lifnei Rosh Hashanah, if they went hard before Rosh Hashanah, v'nifselu me'ochel adam, and they became inedible, mutar l'kayaman b'shvius, then he's allowed to keep them during Shemitah. V'im lav asur l'kayaman b'shvius, but if not, then he's not allowed to keep them in Shemitah because they are considered Shemitah produce, and they're going to be chayav in the dinim of biur. Okay, as we're going to learn about biur later, is that once produce is no longer easily available in the field, there's man biur, and you have to be mafkir everything so that anyone can take it. So these that grew inside his field, he's allowed to take them, and he's allowed to make sure that nobody else gets them.
If they don't take them, in other words, if nobody wants it,
he can take them himself again. We actually do have a little bit of machlokes tanaim in there, but the halacha comes out that he can take them back himself. Okay. Hatmaros she'elahin asuras b'shvius. Now the tamaros, normally we say those are berries, but it's tzitzit hadilum, which is lifnei patichatam domim letamaros. So the what does your Kahati say about the tamaros, the dates?
The tomorrow are buds of the gourd.
Buds of the gourd. Thank you. They're the buds.
Before opening up, resemble dates.
Right.
There's another interpretation that the Menorah says these are leaves which remain fit for human food even after the gourd is hardened.
Right. Okay. So the tzitzin, so those little buds over there, asuras b'shvius, but then nonetheless asur in shvius, even though the rest of the gourd has dried out, because now this is a viable plant and it's got all the dinim of Shemitah on it. Umarbitzin ba'afar lavan, marbitzin, which means you can spray water over them with ba'afar lavan. You can. Oh, marbitzin ba'afar lavan. Is this a new halacha over here? You can spray water into a white field. That's an open field. Divrei Rabbi Shimon.
Right.
Um, and so what does the Rambam explain about here? That the intention of Rabbi Shimon is for a field that's got trees that are far apart from each other. Okay,
What,
so remember we said that in a tree field you're allowed to plow the field before
right.
before Shemitah. Now we're talking about in the Shemitah year that you're allowed to spray these trees with water. Rabbi Shimon says that you're allowed um, to spray water for the trees so that they shouldn't be ruined.
Didn't he say? Was it Red Shimon who said you need to spray the top, not the roots?
Good question. Let's go back. What we said about Rabbi Elazar. Af mashkehu is a nof b'shvius aval lo is a ikar. No, that was Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok.
Ah. So would this be the same thing over here? You can,
So now this is Rabbi Shimon saying that you're basically allowed to give a bit of water to the trees so that they shouldn't die during the Shemitah.
including roots.
But if they're close to each other, then everyone agrees that you're allowed to water them because it's
What?
not considered avoda.
Um, and the white field is the grain field.
It normally is, but the Rambam is explaining that this is talking about a sparsely planted tree field. So it's called lavan because it's not there's not that much shade in it. But the reason why you're allowed to water it is so that the trees shouldn't be ruined. Um, okay, and the other mafarishim say that the afar lavan is karka techuch v'alecha. It's moist. It's ground that is loose and moist, and it's got trees in it also, and it just needs a little bit of watering. And Rabbi Shimon is mattered in order to save it from damage. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov oser, but Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov disagrees and says this is aser, and the halacha follows Rabbi Shimon.
Did we talk last time in this Mishnah? I remember something about the rice. We said that we had. Did we say that we hadn't seen rice really growing in Eretz Yisrael?
Yeah, we were talking about that. That was talking about Demai. We were wondering about whether Demai is an automatic, whether when you see rice, you must assume it came from Eretz Yisrael, even if you're outside Eretz Yisrael.
Ah, it was strange. I remember that whole discussion. It was.
Yeah. Okay. Mamarasin be'orez b'shvius. So now he has the rice again. So you're allowed to. So if rice took root before Rosh Hashanah of Sheviis, you're allowed to irrigate it with lots of water because rice needs lots of water. Mamarasin is the word of the Mishnah because the orez needs lots of water and it looks almost like a porridge. It's a mamaris. It's really soaked.
Right.
He mixes it all around. It's for b'mayim. Okay, and the kavanah here is for. Oh no, we'll leave that. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Omer aval ein mekaschin, but Rabbi Shimon says you may not be mekasech. You're not allowed to cut the leaves of the rice in order to make it better because this is called avoda, which is to improve the plant, and that's not allowed. You're allowed to water it because otherwise it's going to die, but you can't do the clipping of leaves because that's just an improvement.
It
Um,
seems. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so Rabbi Shimon is not disagreeing with the Tanakhama; he's adding to his words, because to water them is fine because this is so that the rice shouldn't die, but to clip the leaves is not necessary.
It seems that in Shemitah that they're not looking that your crop or your gardens or anything should like die. That
Yeah,
they want it.
so you're allowed to do in the same way as on Chol HaMoed. You're allowed to do melacha that's davar ha'aved. That's something that's going to get lost.
Right.
So for example, if your ceiling develops a leak over your bookshelf or whatever during Chol HaMoed, and you need to do something about it, you need to do something about it because it's going to cause damage inside your house. Okay, so it's Chol HaMoed. You wouldn't have done that lechatchila, but now, okay, what can you do? It's a davar aved. You've got to do it.
Right.
Okay, the same thing goes with the shmita. You've got plants in your garden and you're not allowed to do avoda to improve them to make your garden all nice. But if your plants are going to die if you don't water them, then you have to water them.
Maybe not as much as you did before.
Exactly. You
Right.
need to water them enough to keep them alive.
Right. It doesn't seem like the Shemitah is, all right, we're going to cut you guys out altogether. It's, you need to do what you have to do. And
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Perek Gimel Mishnah Aleph. Me'emasayim motzi'in zavalim la'ashpatos. So now we're switching context to the end of the Shemitah year. So now all the farmers have been getting itchy fingers and want to get back to work. And they see Rosh Hashanah is approaching, and this Motzei Rosh Hashanah, they're going to be out there with their tractors and plows and whatever, getting ready to go. So they're not going to sit with the manure manure in the storeroom all the time. They're going to get it ready. Putting a pile of manure in your field is not going to fertilize your field, so that's allowed. However, you can't do it too soon, because then it looks like you're going to be fertilizing the field during Shemitah. So that's the question of the Mishnah over here: is at what point in the Shemitah year are you allowed to start taking out your manure to the field? And people will say, oh, because it's nearly Rosh Hashanah, they're getting ready to put it out after Rosh Hashanah. Okay, and the answer is Misha Yifsaku of de Avoda. It's after the people who work the field have stopped. In other words, and there's another. If you have, let's say, if you had non-Jews working the fields in Shemitah, when do they stop plowing their fields? When do they stop fertilizing their fields? And after that point, it's nikar that this is no longer about preparing the field. There's another gears in the Mishnah, which is over aver instead of de avoda. Right. So that means people who are violating Shemitah. When would they stop working the fields as well? Okay, the point being that it's got to be at a time when nobody is out fertilizing their fields, so that people can see that it's not that this is not your intention. And this is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Misha Yivash Hamatok. It's from when the sweet gets dried up is the literal thing. That is the matok is actually the manure itself. That's which is mematek, the peiros, which sweetens the fruit. Okay, and the explanation of that from the Aruch is from when the pekuos hasadeh, when the bitter gourds in the fields are called sweet in Lashon Sagi Nahor. It's a sort of a euphemistic term. That these particular gourds dry up, and it's, or else there's another, and the other Mepharshim say that from when the water dries up in the field. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Omer Misha Yikshor. It's from when the sweet stuff, in other words, the manure dries up, or when it comes out looking knotted. Krovim divreihem lios shavim, and the Yerushalmi explains, takes all these three opinions and says, honestly, they're not really arguing. They've got different simanim, but it all comes out to about the same time of year.
Okay.
All right. Back to Kilayim.
From Kilayim we have just Gimel. Hand towels, scroll wrappers, bath towels do not come under the prohibition of Kilayim. Rav Eliezer forbids this, and barber's towels are forbidden on account of Kilayim. Shrouds for the dead and the pack saddle of the donkey do not come under the prohibition of Kilayim. One may not put a pack saddle on his shoulder, even to take out dung on it. Garment vendors may sell in the usual fashion, provided they do not react to the sun in the sun or to the rain in the rain, but scrupulously suspend them over a staff behind them.
Okay.
Think about the barber towels reminded me yesterday. My son-in-law and I went to get our haircut.
Yeah.
Mine was his was 50 shekel, and mine was 50 and 10 for the beard. So I said to the barber, I said, "How come his is less? He has more hair than I do. It took you 2 seconds to do my hair." He said, "Well, that's business, I understood why, but okay. We have hay.
Hey, Yud Aleph, yeah.
If he gave truma from demai for demai, the demai for a definite tevel, it is truma. But he must give truma again. From definite tevel for demai, it is truma, but may not be eaten until he has given to trumas and maestros for it. If one leases a field from a Jew, from a non-Jew or a Kuthian, he sets their chair before them. If one rents a field from a Jew, he must take truma and give it to him. Rabbi Yehuda said, when he gives him the same from the same field and from the same species. But when he gives him from another field or from another species, he tithes and gives him. If one rents a field from a non-Jew, he must give tithe and give it to him. Rabbi Yehuda says, also one who leases from a non-Jew, the field of his fathers must tithe and give it to him.
Okay. Machshin. Bye.
Okay. These are the subcategories of water. That which issues from the eye, from the ear, from the nose, from the mouth, liquid excrement, whether a loose stool or urine, intentionally or unintentionally. These are the subcategories of blood. Blood of slaughter of a kosher domesticated animal, of a non-domesticated animal, and a fowl, and blood letting for drinking. Whey is considered like milk, and olive water is considered like oil. Since the olive water cannot merge without oil, these are the words of Reb Shimon. And Reb Meir says, even though there is no oil with it, the blood of a sheretz is like meat, conveys tuma, but does not render food susceptible to tuma, and we have nothing else similar to it. The following convey tuma and affect heksha: the ziva discharge of a zav, his saliva, his semen, his urine, and a quarter log of blood from a corpse, and blood of a nida. Reb Eliezer says semen does not affect texture. Reb Elazar ben Azariah says blood of a nida does not affect texture. And Reb Shimon says blood of a corpse does not affect texture. And it falls on a gourd, he should scrape it off, and the gourd is tahor. The following do not convey tumor, nor do they affect texture: sweat, pus, and excrement, and the blood that emerges with them, and the blood of a child born in the 8th month. Reb Yossi says, except for his blood and someone who drinks the water of Tiberias, even though the excretion that emerges is clear, blood of the slaughter of a domestic animal or of a non-domesticated animal or of fowl on a non-kosher, and blood of bloodletting are therapeutic purposes. Reb Elazar considers them to be tamei. And Reb Shimon ben Elazar says milk of a male is tahor.
And the halacha follows him. Okay. Kalim, chapter 23.
I need to check something here and make sure it's not something I need to know about. No, good, okay. Okay, we have Kaf Gimel Aleph. Regarding a ball, a shoe form, an amulet, or tefillin that tore, one who touches them is tamei. But one who touches their contents is tahor. So that means if you have tefillin and it's torn, you're tamei. But if you touch the cloth, you're not.
Because the clef inside is, we said that all kisvei kodesh have got tuma, but hanogea behin tamei don't mean him.
This says here, there's a comment that says, a person who touches only the exposed contents of any of these items will not contract tuma, so the contents are not considered legally connected to the exterior. Thus, they do not become tamei when their exterior was rendered tamei by the corpse.
So these things have already received tumas, the tuma from the okay. If they have been torn somewhat after they've become tamei, but the base kibble has not yet been nullified by the tear. Therefore, they remain tamei. So we touch them, they become tamei. But what's inside them, if you touch the contents, right? So it's not just so talking about things other than tefillin. Whatever's inside them is a chibur lahem ve'eno tamei k'mosam. It's not a chibur. What the stuffing. the stuffing in these balls. So, but the tefillin, I think we can't keep in this category because kisvei kodesh we already say we have a tuma derabanan, but the other things, the kador and the amom, those just like some sort of stuffing. It's not considered a chibur, and they were protected from the tuma.
Regarding a saddle that tore, one who touches its contents is tummy, but for the stitching connects it. The following utensils are, that was it. No, following utensils are utame as merkav, an askalani strap, a median mortar, a paddle sack of a camel, and a saddle of a horse. Rav Yossi says even a saddle of a horse is tame as moshav because they stand on it on the sporting grounds, but a saddle of dormitory is tame. What is the difference between merkav and moshav? With regard to merkav, touching it is different than carrying it, but with regard to moshav, touching it is no different than carrying it. The paddle sack of a donkey that one
Right.
sits upon.
That's just that's the only distinction between merkav and moshav is are you matame begadim? So
Mhm.
if you touch something that a zav sat on, that's a mishkav, and then even your clothes become tame. Whereas merkav, remember, that's something where you sit straddled with your legs on either side. So that's the merkav, like the saddle. So if you touch the saddle, you become tame, but your clothing doesn't. Whereas if you carry it, then you still become tame with your clothes.
What is the difference between merkav and moshav? With regard to merkav, touching is different than carrying it, but with regard to moshav, touching it is no different than carrying it. Ahor. And if one changes the number of holes or open the holes into the other, it is tummy.
Okay. Marcos.
All right. Okay. One who makes a tattoo, even he wrote but did not prick it into the skin, or he pricked the skin but did not write, he is not liable unless he writes and pricks it into the skin with ink, or with blue dye, or with anything that makes a mark. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Reb Shimon, he is not liable unless he writes a name there, as it is said, and a tattoo you shall not place upon yourselves. I am Hashem.
The halacha doesn't follow Rabbi Shimon. Any kind of tattoo makes a person chayav malchus.
A Nazir who kept drinking wine all day is liable only once. If they said to him, do not drink, and he kept drinking, he's liable for each one.
So every time he gets warned and he says, "I don't care," that's another round of lashes for him.
If he kept contaminating himself with corpses all day, he is liable only once. If they said to him, do not contaminate yourselves, and he kept contaminating himself, he is liable for each one. If he kept shaving all day, he's liable only once. And they said to him, do not shave, and he kept shaving, he's liable for each one. If he kept wearing kalayim all day, he was liable only once. And they said to him, do not wear it, and he kept taking it off and putting it on, he's liable for each one.
Okay. By the way, it's got to be a positive action. It's not just that he's wearing it. So he's got a beged of kilayim, and somebody comes in and says, "Don't wear it," and he says, "I don't care." And then so they say to him again, "Don't wear it." He's not doing another action because he's just passively sitting and letting the clothing be on. That's why the Mishna has to specify that he took it off and put it on. So there's a positive action of putting on the clothing.
I was just thinking of something. If they ever came out with a thing where I didn't put this in here. I'm sorry. If they ever came out with a thing that said, people have these bracelets, like they're diabetic or they're this or they're that.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're not doing this anymore. We have to have permanent marks. We have to know for sure. And they started saying everyone who has one of these conditions, they have to get a tattoo that says the diabetic has to do this. That could be, I could see already, court cases coming out of this
Yeah,
thing.
that's not going to happen.
You know,
That's not going to happen. That's too much of like the libertarians will have a screaming match on that.
I'm sure that, that's like Big Brother is really watching you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Beitza Dalet Zayin.
I just have to ask you one thing because I lost my place in Sheviis, where we.
Oh, in Sheviis, we just finished Gimel Aleph. Oh, so your bookmark for tomorrow should be for base tests.
Yeah, I have it. Okay, I didn't put the mark in there, so. I would have found it eventually, but this is easier. Okay. All right, here we go. Um, Zion. We may not produce fire neither from wood, nor from stones, nor from earth, nor from water, nor may we heat tiles in order to roast upon them. And Reb Eliezer said yet another thing. A person may stand next to foodstuffs that are muksa on Friday during the Sheviis and say, from here I will eat tomorrow. But they could come and say only if he marks it off and says, from here to here I will eat. Hmm? We may lower produce through a skylight on Yom Tov, but not on Shabbos. We may cover produce with cloths to guard against dripping water and also pitchers of
So
wine
this
and
this
pitchers
over
of
here was
oil, and
when
we
we
may
were
put a
concerned
vessel.
about his fruits on the roof in order to dry, and he sees the clouds gathering. So if it's on
Right.
on Yom Tov, you're allowed to push them through the skylight, but not on Shabbos. Now, why not on Shabbos? Even through the skylight, you can't push them through, because why? Uh, so this is only when it's a skylight that is easy to push it through, and as opposed to a window that he has to pick it up, and because that's too much tircha. We don't want him to be matriach himself. Um, but even on Shabbos, you're not allowed to do these things. Okay.
An activity from which one is obliged to abstain
Hold on,
because
hold.
of
Did
rabbinical
we finish
injunction,
Mishnah
even
Aleph? Mechasim Paris.
thought so. No, no, maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't. We may lower produce through a skylight on Yom Tov and not on Shabbos. We may cover produce with cloths to guard against dripping water and also pitchers of wine and pitchers of oil. And we may put a vessel under the dripping water on Shabbos. We had another mission like this. It was the time where we just did it with it. I think where you could lock the door, but he could get a key and go inside if he needed to get wood, or he could. You remember that this was.
Yeah. We dealt with that where there was machlokes about which wood he's allowed to gather on Shabbos. If it's got to have been prepared on Yom Tov, that is. It's got to have been prepared before, and it mustn't be too much tircha for him to go around the yard gathering all the wood.
Maybe it was in Sukkah, maybe that had that, but also we also had something about you could also drop through the skylight thing. I
No,
thought it had that something else.
no, not that. Well, we had in Orlos, we had a whole bunch of discussion about skylights and spreading tumah.
Right, right, right. I remember. Any activity from which one is obliged to abstain because of a rabbinical injunction, even if it is a non-mandatory mitzvah, or even if it is a mitzvah on Shabbos, one is also obliged to abstain from it on Yom Tov. These are to be sustained from because of water, rabbinical injunction. We may not ascend a tree, we may not ride upon an animal, nor swim in the water, nor clap hands, nor slap thighs, nor dance. These are non-mandatory mitzvahs. We may not adjudicate because nor betroth, nor perform kalitza, nor perform levirate marriage. And these are mitzvahs which may not consecrate nor make assessment vows, which may not make harem, nor separate truma or tithes. All these were promulgated regarding Yom Tov. Surely they apply to Shabbos. On Shabbos, there is no difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos except in laws pertaining to food preparation.
And I think that the Ochel Nefesh Bilvad is only talking. That's according to the opinion of Beis Shammai, I think. Yeah, that's right. This mission is according to the opinion of Beis Shammai, but the halacha actually is like Beis Hillel, who say mitoch. That's
Right.
an important thing. That's Beis Hillel permit us to um, um, they, they permit you to do other malachas that are similar to the malacha that's been permitted on Yom Tov. Since it's been permitted for Ochel Nefesh, you can also do it for other needs on Yom Tov, not just about eating.
Okay, terrific.
All right.
So, all right, so Mr. Shem, I will see you on
It's Hashem. See you tomorrow.
8:45. What's tomorrow morning? Oh, wait, what time is burning tomorrow? By 10,
Yeah,
11 or something?
we'll have time to have our share.
Yeah, well, no problem at all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You